Our recording. Welcome, everybody, wherever you might happen to be. It's a wonderful hurricane day here in the villages, and we're celebrating by playing music. It's the best thing we could do, no matter what the weather is outside. Today's songs are "Let It Go" from the animated feature film Frozen, and we're doing "Tears in Heaven," which is Eric Clapton. Okay. As far as anything else, you are all on your own for muting and unmuting yourselves. So just remember to keep yourselves muted when I am teaching, when I am playing, so that I don't have a distraction of microphones. If I am giving you fingering or giving you extra chords and you get lost, it is absolutely okay to unmute yourself and scream at me. I'm okay, I can take it. And interrupt me and let's get everything straightened out before we move on. All right, very good. Frozen is a long, Let It Go is a long song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. Woohoo! It is a long one, but it is kind of fun. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know what this is about. If you haven't seen the movie, go to YouTube and watch the clip. Don't just listen to it. Watch the whole thing where she's actually doing her stuff, because if any of you saw Fantasia, it's kind of got some of the same stuff where it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. And I am using on this symphonic, which is under classic. Now, some of you don't have symphonic, so what are you supposed to use? I'm at 68 beats a minute, but I'm going to actually be playing it. I think I'm playing it double time. I can't remember. I've been working on so many songs lately. Okay, if you've got the easy instruments, mix guitarist is very good. Rock 8-beat. Rock 8-beat, which is your rock full band if you've got the smaller instruments. Also, smooth pianist. Your heart songs or heartfelt will also work on this. Traditional pianist is very good as well, since that's a classical piano. Now, if you're doing that, you might want to add 16-foot strings to the lower sounds and put a string ensemble, or no, it's vice versa. 16-foot strings for the upper sound and string ensemble in your lower chords. And then you'd also want to add a duet to give it a little more fullness. If you just go to your pianist and guitarist, you know that they're a little bit empty. They're just the pianist, they're just the guitarist. So you fill in with your lower chord sounds and with your upper pad sounds, meaning your strings, your organs, your vocals. But in this case, you definitely want the big orchestra strings. And if you go to symphonic, it will have that. If you don't have the symphonic background, you can go to one of the rock 8-beat and then go to the category presets and go to the symphonic, and you'll find the same setups for the top. All right, so I'm going to play, and I'm going to let you follow through, and then I'm going to give you the fingering. And as far as extra chords, 0. Ooh, that's a good thing. 0 extra chords. Okay, but this is the feeling that we're looking for, because she's angry. She's going off on her own. She's climbing the mountain, and she is going to build her own ice castle. Yes, that's the mood we're looking for. Oops, what happened? Oh, that one, sorry. Okay, now the only chord I did change, did everybody follow it okay? Oops, somebody coming in. There is a little bit of a road map here. It's not that difficult, but because there are so many pages, you do have to know where to turn the pages. So you're going to play the first page, page 50, all of the second page, all of the third page, all of the fourth page, which is page 53, and the top line of page 54. Then you have a double line, which always gives the end of a section, and it says DS al coda. Return to the silly sign, and then we're going to look for the 2 coda. Remember, you never go backwards to a coda. Codas only send you forwards. So we're going back to the silly sign, which is 1 page back at the top of the page. So if you wanted to make that a color, go ahead and make this double line on the top of page 54 a color. And then when you go back, make the silly sign the same color. That way your eye will see that. Now what are we looking for? We're looking for the 2 coda, which is on the bottom of page 52, kind of in the middle of the page. Okay, now that's sending you forward, so you got to turn the page back again to the second line on page 54. Mm-hmm. Now if you notice, all those silly notes in there, I did not play not one of them. What did I do instead?
The thingy.
This thingy. Yeah, I did the virtuoso. And I went back and forth between an E flat chord and an F chord, and I just made sure I ended on an F. I went E flat, F, and did for 1 measure for each one, I think I did. And it doesn't matter. All you're doing is you're trying to get the storm going. And if you want to play all those notes, good luck, because they don't really sound all that great anyway. It's something that's just supposed to create chaos and sound like the big raging ice storm. Now, what if you don't have one of these? Fill in, absolutely. Use your fill in. Now, your fill in can be either this, or it can be put on a long pedal for those of you that have fanfares and rialtos and journeys, or you can use your kick switch, or you can actually reach up and use your FX, since you're not doing anything with this hand anyway. So if you're playing an E flat, you could just do FX, F, E flat, F. So you could just hold that down. Or you could, like I said, do your foot switch or do the touch bar and just keep it down the whole time. That'll work. Then just make sure that when you come in, you're coming in at my power flurries. All right, now that's in the middle of a measure. It's actually beat 2 of a measure. So what you're going to want to do is just make sure you know where you are in your counting, the red, green, 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 and just make sure that you come in on an F chord, and you might just want to put an F chord over that. Come in on an F chord and come in on beat 2. One. Okay. Okay. And I just put the rest of it in parentheses. And I put a nice little note that says fake it or fill in or virtuoso. Your faking is another thing that you can use. For those of you that have fake it, put it on fake it, play your chords and noodle. Just noodle. E flat, F for a measure, noodle. E flat for a measure and noodle. It just, you could do it all on F because that's all on F key there. But I think it just sounds better and gives it a little more motion if you do one measure E flat, one measure F, one measure E flat, one measure F, one measure E flat, and then that F chord takes you right back into. And if you play an extra measure or two on a fake it or a fill in, so what? It's your composition. You can do whatever you want right there. But I think it makes it easier. I think it sounds better than this mess of notes that's here, honest and truly. And I think it gets you to use some of the features that you have on your instrument. So either the fill-in, the fake it, or the virtuoso. And just play your chords. Make sense?
Yep.
Oh, okay, now if you're going to finish the song, keep going. All of page 55. And then 56 is your last page. And then you have at the very end, you have a silly little note. You're on an F chord, and then you've got a high A. Well, it doesn't really sound like that's supposed to end it. If you watch the film clip, what she's doing is she comes out and she said out of her castle that she just created out of ice. And she says, "The cold never bothered me anyway." And she turns around and slams the door. Pow! And that's what that A is supposed to be. Well, I think it sounds better, even though it is in the key of F. Play a C chord. Play a C chord and use a 3-fingered C chord in the upper keyboard, which would be G on the top space. Actually, it's the first space over the staff. E on the top space of the staff, and C on the third space of the staff. C, E, G, G, E, C, stacked up. And then just play that and just pop it. Just pop it like it's a door slam, because that's what it's supposed to be. Now, for those people that have the sound effects, if you can get a door slam and make it sound really loud and good, in conjunction with that, you can also do that. Okay, but it's kind of tough when you got both hands doing something. If you can put it in a foot pedal or something like that, you can get a door slam along with it. It's just boom, it's a door slam. Okay. So you just want to pop on it. They have you doing this. I'm going to do the last 2 lines. Whoops, sorry about that. Sounded like a door slam right there. To me, that just doesn't do it. That doesn't give me the impact of what the film clip actually is. Right. You know, she says her piece, and she says, "The cold never bothered me anyway." and she turns around, walks into her castle, bam, slams the door. So it's supposed to be a door slam. So I think it just sounds better with a C chord and a full-fingered C chord on the top keyboard.
Mhm.
Okay, you like it a little bit better?
Yeah.
I think it ends it a little nicer, a little bit more true to what it is actually supposed to be. Okay.
Dawn,
Yes.
Dawn, I have a question about you. If you use the virtuoso, is it
Uh-huh.
more effective? I can't remember whether you went up and down, or should you always go in the same direction?
No, you can
Up and
scrub
down
around
any
on
old
it.
way?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can scrub around on it. Now, it depends on what you're looking for with the virtuoso. If you're looking to do a little improvisation, then you can just pop your finger on it. Or you can go just up or just down. Here's what I did. I took 2 fingers and I did some scrubbing, okay? Because what that does is you're creating that ice storm. Okay, see what I was doing? And just those 2 fingers is like putting a duet on your virtuoso and then just scrubbing it up and down, and it's following the arpeggios of the chord. Now, if you wanted to just leave it on F, you've got it on E flat for one measure and then F for the rest of the time. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I think if you go back and forth between the E flat and the F from measure to measure, it gives you a little more motion and gives you a little more good sound.
Yeah.
Okay? So that would be some ways to use what your instrument has, some of the fabulous features, and make that section that you come to and you go, really? Am I really going to play that? Did anybody try it?
No.
No. See? You get to it and you go, yuck, I'm skipping it.
Wait,
I have worked on that now for weeks, and that middle part always is horrible. So
And
I'm
it
so
sounds
glad you-
horrible.
Yes,
Because the notes are horrible. They really, whoever wrote this arrangement was really just trying to fill in. And I have a feeling that if you listen to it, and I forgot to go back and see what the orchestra does, the orchestra might just be doing whatever, and everybody's doing something a little different just to create that ice storm chaos. So the best way to do that is don't play those notes. They sound horrible.
my grandchildren will love it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Every child under the age of 15 knows this knows this song. I did not, but the more you watch it, the more it grows on you. It really grows on you. What do we know about it? It was actually in 2013, composed by a husband-wife songwriting team, Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. It was performed by Idina Menzel, and she was the vocal role of Queen Elsa. And it was redone by Demi Lovato, and that was actually the version that was used over the start of the film's closing credits. And that arrangement was actually done to be more of a radio-friendly pop hit. So I think what you're hearing on the radio is Demi Lovato. The first song from a Disney animated musical to reach the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 was this one since 1995, when Vanessa Williams hit in the charts with Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. It won, Frozen, Let It Go, won both the Academy Award for the Best Original Song in 2014. It also won the Grammy for the Best Song Written for a Visual Media in 2015. In 2014, it sold 10.9 million copies, becoming the year's 5th best-selling song. Amazing. Amazing. So you never know when your song's going to hit and make you some money. So keep writing all those songs.
The little boys liked it too.
Yeah. I've not seen the entire thing, but just after watching just this clip, it kind of makes me interested. So yeah, I would be interested to go back and watch this, the whole thing. In my spare time, of course. All right, let's do some fingering. We have 7 pages of fingering, so we got to go fast here. Page 50, D2, E3, 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 all the way across. D2, C1, 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 C1. Second line, D2, D2, C1, B2, circle it. You are crossing it over A1. A1, E3, 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 G5, third line, G5, E3, C1, C1, D2, E3, D2, C1, and D2. Check mark. Last line on that page, E2, E2, G4, A5, G4, E2, G4, 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 F3, E2, top of page 51, F3, E2. 2 ways to do this next one. I'm just going to pick one. Check mark, E4, E4, D3, C2, D3, D3, E4, D3, C2, second line A1. Check mark. D1, D1, G2. Third line G2, D1, D1, A3, 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 G2, A3, A3, G2. A3, B4, C5, B4. Fourth line, B4. D1, D1, G2, G2, D1, D1, A3, A3. Your instrumental is F2 and C1. F2, C1, F2, C1, F2, F2, C1, F2. Just F2 and C1. When you get to the words, the well is a 1 with a circle around it. You're tucking it under. A2, B3, C4. A2, B3. Turn the page. Page 52, C4, G1, G1, D5, C4, A2 all the way across. The last B is a 3, C4, A2, B3, C4, G1, E5, E5, D4, check mark. C2, D3, E4, E4, F5, E4, D3, C2, D3, C2, G5, E3, D2. Fourth line, C1, C1, G5, E3, C1. 2 ways to do this one. Let's do check mark, C4, C4, B3, G1, G1. Check mark. F3, 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 E2, F3, E2, F3, E2, F3, E3. Top of page 53. E2, C1. Then your nice little instrumental in there, D5, C4, G1, C4, G1, C4, G1, C4, D5, G1, B3, G1, D5, C4, B3, C4. Second line, low C1, E3 all the way across, C1, C1, G5, G5, F4, E3. Third line, D2, C1, C1, E2, 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 G4, A5, G4, check mark. G2, the last note on that line. Let's go to line 4, C5, C5, B4, A3, A3, D1, D1, G2, G2, D1, D1, G2. Last line on that page, A3, G2, A3. Put an arrow on this G, make it a 1. A2, B3, C4, D5, G2, D1, D1, G2. Turn the page. G2, D1, G2, D1, A3, B4, C5. Your pickup notes are A2 and B3. All right, now I'm skipping that whole middle section because I don't think anybody should play it. If you seriously need fingering, please come into the store or contact me and I'll scan it to you. But it sounds terrible. It does. Let's go to my power flurries. Line 4, second measure, second beat. E3, I'm sorry, F3, E2, F3. Flurries, G1, circle it, we're tucking it under. A2, B flat 3, C4. Last line on the page, high E flat 5, D4, C3, B flat 2, C3. Check mark. F2, E1, F2. Next page, G3, A1 with a circle, you're tucking it under. B flat 2, C3, high E flat 5, D4, C3, B flat 2, E flat 5, D4, C3, D4, E3. I'm sorry, it's a C, C3. Second line, G3, F sharp 2, G3. A1, circle it, you're tucking your thumb under. B2, C3, D4, F5, E4, D3, C2, D3. E4, 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 C2, C2, C2. Fourth line, D3, C2, D3, E4, F5. F5, F5, F5 at the end of that line. Last line on the page, E4, G1, G1, D4, C3, A2 all the way across. The last note on the page, B3. Okay, turn the page. C4, D5, C4, A2, B3, C4. G1, E5, E5, D4, check mark. C2, second line, E4, E4, F5, E4, D3, C2, D3, C2. G5, E3, D2. Third line, C1, C1, G5, C3, A4. I'm sorry, that's an F, F4, E3, D2, C1. Second to the last line, C2, C2. Oops, you should have put a check mark there, sorry. C2, C2, B1, C2, high G5. The last note on that line is an E flat 2, or it could be a 3. I think a 2 is better. F4, F4, E3, F4, E3, F4, F4, E3, C1, and then use a 1, 3, 5 for the C, E, G for the door slam. Got it?
Yep.
Any
Wow.
questions? Yeah, this is a long song.
I
It's a long song,
like it.
but it's a fun one. Yep, it is. And the more you see the video, then you start singing it in your sleep. All right, if there's no more questions about Let It Go, just enjoy playing it. It's a fun song. And now that you know that you don't have to play all those ugly notes, and you can use fill-ins or fake-its to get through that, or your virtuoso, it'll make it a lot more fun. All right, the next song is way easier. It's called Tears in Heaven. It's on page 98. The only problem with this is the road map.
Oh,
Let's get Stan in. The road map is kind of a bear, but that's okay. If you know the song, you don't have to follow the road map exactly the way it is either. But what do we know about Tears in Heaven? This is Eric Clapton, and he actually wrote this with Will Jennings about the death of his 4-year-old son. Oh my God, how tragic. I remember when that happened. How tragic is that? His son was staying at a friend of his mother's apartment and fell off the balcony. Yep. Very tragic. Very tragic. It was a complete total accident, and I just can't even imagine. Nobody should ever have to lose a child. But this was Clapton's way of getting over his grief, was to actually write about it, and it was his best-selling single in the United States, reaching number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also won 3 Grammy Awards. In 2004, Rolling Stone magazine ranked it number 362 on the list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. And it is fairly simple to play, which is nice. It's just that this road map is a bear. All right, so let's take a look at the road map, and the only thing to do is follow the verses. Follow your verses. So the first verse takes you all of page 1 or all of page 98. The second page, if you look at the bottom, you have some brackets. You have a 1, comma, 3, and a 2, and then you have a bizarro thing that says to the next strain. Well, let's just go verse by verse. At the end of the first ending, you can make that a color, by the way, if you want, right there. You're going to go back to the beginning to pick up verse 2. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I'll find my way through night and day, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. And then you play these chords, and now you're going to skip over. I put a little 2 here, and I skipped over to the second ending. And
oh,
then it says to the next strain. So I put an arrow in the same color, and we're going to the next strain, which happens to start here, because it's going to be after the 4th ending. So you're starting the next strain here. So I put a 2 in the same color with an arrow forward, so that all my colors and arrows are matching, so I know where I'm going. Okay, let me show that to you again. a 2 here. You're going to skip over the first ending, go to the second ending. Now the cool thing is it's all rests. So if you make a mistake, it's not that big of a deal. It's all rests. And then it says to the next strain. So the arrow takes you to here. Okay? On that B flat chord. So if you mark it all the same, it'll be easier to find.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little bit bizarro. You don't see that too often. And again, there's so many rests in the endings that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What is that page 100? That's the bridge. That's the part that just doesn't really match anything else. So you do the bridge. Time can bring you down. Time can bend your knees. Time can break the heart. Have you begging, please, begging, please. Then you have some instructions, and not only do you have some instructions, you have some bad instructions because there's a typo. So you're going, oh, no wonder I couldn't figure it out. There's a typo. It says, you've got the two thin lines, and it says DC and fade. Well, that's wrong. Okay? It should say DC al fine, A-L, fine. Al Fine, our good friend Al Fine. DC Alfine. Okay, that's what it should say. So I made that a color, and then that color is taking me where? Back to the beginning. DC means da capo, and capo means head. And you're going all the way back to the beginning of the song for verse 4, which happens to be the same as verse 1. It says 1, 4.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. We're not there yet. We're going back to verse 3. We haven't done verse 3 yet, have we? Okay, so we're going back to verse 3, which is an instrumental. Yeah, that's what makes this tricky. So now you're going to do verse 3, the whole first page, and then you're going to do the first and third ending again, which we already did that once, and it sends you back again. Now we're doing verse 4. And verse 4, you play it again, in verse 4 I put an arrow here and an arrow that goes all the way over to here. But guess what? They're all the same. They're all just a G chord on a rest.
Wow.
So it's not that big of a deal. You just have to remember that you play this 2 times, go to the bridge 2 more times.
Okay.
Okay? If you think of it that way instead of trying to follow all the numbers, because it'll drive you crazy.
Okay.
Extra chords, very, very few, and they are optional. So let's get to that right now because we are running out of time. The first line, second measure, third beat. Over that half rest, you may put in an E minor 7. E minor 7 over the rest. Third line, same thing. Second measure, third beat, which would be over that half rest, which is that rectangle sitting on top of the line, E minor 7. You're already on an E minor, so you're just going to add the 7 to it. Second page, no changes. Third page, no changes. That's it.
Wow.
Aha. Let's do some fingering, and then I'll play it for you,
Okay.
because we are running out of time. B3, G1, D5, D5, B3, A2, G1, C4, C4, B3, A2, G1, B3, A2. Third line, B3, G1, D5, A2, B3, A2, G1. Fourth line, C4, C4, B3, A2, G1, B3, A2. Next page, G4, G4, A5, F sharp 3, F2, F2, G3, E1, A2, B3, C4, A2, A2, G1. Make this F sharp, make this F and F sharp. Put a sharp sign, little tic-tac-toe sign in front of that little F in the triplet. It'll sound better. Make it a 3 with a circle. You're crossing it over. E2. I know you're playing it on an A minor chord, but it sounds better to sing it with an F sharp. Next line, D1, B5, A4, A4, G3. And then it's just a bunch of rests. So guess what? You can use fill-ins, you can use the virtuoso, or you can just let your stuff go and play the chords. Let's turn it over to the bridge. Page 100. D5, D5, C4, C4, B flat 3, A2. Second line G1, B flat 3, G1, C4, G1, A2. Third line D5, D5, C4, C4, B flat 3, A2, C1, I'm sorry, G1, B flat 3, G1, C4, C4, A2, A2, C4, D5. That one's it. Okay. Now what kind of background should we use on this? If you have soft and easy, go to your variation 1, which is guitars. And I used rhythm preset 1. And as far as tempo, anywhere from 72 to 80, depending on how much coffee you've had that day. Or you can go to soft rock under your rock and roll. I used rhythm preset 1, and I added a golden harp more pattern. I went to the guitars, the guitar pattern of the golden harp, and changed the sound to a guitar and turned my Orchestra Plus off, so that mostly what you were just hearing was that golden harp doing the guitar picking. Okay? Or guitars 4/4, which would be your, on the smaller instruments, smooth guitarists. If you have the Freedom 3, the mellow 8-beat, gospel guitar heaven is fabulous. Or on the easies, your smooth full band or guitarist. Okay, any questions before I play it? How are we doing on time? Ooh, we're just about done. Wow. Okay. This is in the key of G. So if I play it on soft and easy, I'm going to start with a G chord. Now I'm going to add a duet just to be different. Or I could go to the lower, which is a nice, pretty flute. going to go to the bridge. You can add some strings if you want. Then you're supposed to go back and play it one more time and then just play the chords and end the song. So remember, it's twice, 2 times, 1 time, 2 more times, and end. Okay? The other background that I used was the soft rock. And you can hear the guitar picking. I took out the Orchestra Plus, which normally sounds like this. That's a soft rock. I took out the Orchestra Plus. I put in a golden harp with the guitar pattern. And then when I play a chord, it's going to give me that guitar picking. Okay? That makes for a nice background too. So don't be afraid to experiment and change up some of your backgrounds. You've got lots of things that you can do to get something new. That's why they give you all these wonderful things, and they're so easy to use. All right, any questions about what we did today?
Dawn, did you say that there was no class at 2 o'clock today?
Yeah, there's no variety class today. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No variety class today. So don't look for it and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't get the link."
Okay,
Nope.
thanks.
Thursday at 1 o'clock there is a product feature concert by Jerome, and on Friday will be the product feature concert. Name that tune with a twist by Daun. So join us for 2 concerts instead of the variety workshops this week. Next week we'll do A Whole New World from Aladdin. That looks like a long E2. Yeah, I think maybe we'll only do the one. Why? Because I think we're going to spend a little bit of time. Make sure you research the songs that the list that I gave you. And we're going to vote on to narrow it down to 3 of them. 3 of them. Okay?
So the new song was what for next week?
The new song we're going to do is called A Whole New World from Aladdin. It's the next song in the book, page 101. But yeah, we need to look for a book. We're getting close to the end. Yeah, we got a couple of weeks yet, but it takes a week or 2 to order, and I want to make sure that we all agree on a book. And no, not everybody's going to agree, but you know what? We can come close. We'll do the best we can. And we will have no voter fraud and no absentee ballot voting. No, we're just going to vote and be done with it. Okay. That being said, have a very wonderful rest of your Veterans Day. And if you know any veterans, absolutely. Ramon said it the best. Thank you for your service. And enjoy the day. Stay dry. And happy hurricane.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Have a good day.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Hurricane,
Stay safe.
Yes, absolutely. You guys are the bestest. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. And we will see you again next week. We'll see you Friday for the concert. So, get ready with your pencil and paper and your Halloween candy that you can have some fun with. And we'll see you then. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye bye.
Bye.